that might be a conclusion. That might be a conclusion. None of those who have affirmed that the all is unity have grasped clearly the meaning of the kind of causal explanation except Parmenides. So what does he consider? The all is what? All is a unity. Does he say the all is a unity? All means many things together. Does he say that anywhere? He excludes that, doesn't he, very clearly. Right?
Then he returns that single cause. He, insofar as he virtually postulates, not a single cause, but two.
That's right. Okay, 12. Does he say that all things are being? Does he say that all things are being? Or does he exclude the whole idea of things? All right. 14. That covers many people besides Parmenides, and it may be inferred that he's talking about Parmenides. So let's. Yeah, right. So what grade would you say, Guts? As you add up the points, there should be 14 units for each one. What grade would you give him?
D.
D would be gracious. Let's give him a D.
Go to D minus.
D. Ooh, D minus. Now look here. Suppose we now open up a whole bunch of books in philosophy about the ancients, and suppose we find that there's certain things that Parmenides is saying that are not included, but suppose they bring to their views of Parmenides the very views of Aristotle. Then what would you conclude? That Aristotle is their primary source for a certain class of judgments. Because let us even assume, which is most likely, that since no one has ever found a complete work of Parmenides, we don't know what the whole is. All of these are called fragments because they existed in other people's writings, and they have just separated them from the context and put them all together and called the collection Parmenides is fragments. That's it. That's the whole body of work. So surely there may be a lot of things that are missing. And it may even be that he's correct about some of those things. But if that's the only source for them, Aristotle, then for other people, good heavens, would you not agree? He either must find correspondence with what other people are saying at the time about Parmenides, or he has some private source. Well, thank goodness we have other quotes that go on, and we can't do it now, but you will do it at home, right? And go through it and see whether other Greeks agreed with him, and we can then give him a grade, can't we? And that's the way we are playing the game. So, before we go into Melesius, or Melissus, any questions about our good friend Parmenides, who started this whole game going?
I have two comments. I'm being very naive tonight, maybe. What he's talking about reminds me of two things. One is the mystical experience is exactly, which to me is very irrational. That's why we were talking.
What?
It's very irrational.
No, that's rational.
I'm saying, but mystical.
I'm joking. Yes, I agree.
Okay, and the other thing which it reminds me, which is extremely rational, is not quantum mechanics, but Einstein's theory of relativity and space-time continuum, which is this whole thing of everything is within the one unity of the four-dimensional space-time.
You might be right, but I think you may be thinking of Whitehead. Are you not? Undifferentiated. Alfred North Whitehead.
No,
Right.
it was.
Undifferentiated continuum.
No, it's pure relate to Einstein, but it came even before Einstein. But normally, if you will look at general relativity and special relativity, well, you have the whole continuum.
See, but if it is a continuum, would it take on these qualities?
Yes, it is.
Now?
It is the whole totality. It's the
No,
idea
no
that-
differences?
No differences. The
Oh,
past, the
oh,
present.
well, then-
It's the whole thing is the future is already. I mean, this is another way to talk about the.
No, here, no.
I understand, but what we mean,
Yes.
the original diagram
Yes.
that we had, where
Well-
we have past, present, and future,
Okay,
and that is all simultaneous in the reality, which is the same as this.
well, we should get a couple of good articles on it and have a continuation to see if we can put the two of them together, and we'll look forward to your article, right? If you can cut it out and, yeah,
I see
yeah,
why.
good, good, yeah, it's important. Please.
Going back to thinking as being,
Yes,
it seems that as we explore these models, we create a reality about them. And I had a teacher who once said, the minute you find a particular, go hunt up its polar opposite and play in that for a while, and then play in all these other ones, and that real wisdom comes from moving between the models and not staying in any one particular model.
No,
Because
no.
if thinking is being, it's almost as though we create this reality as we think about it with its own
mhm.
beingness, you might say. And I mean, it's fascinating. It's
Yeah.
like I don't know. It's like pulling creation out of the void as we look at it. We could go into another room across the world and meet with a group of natives, and they would have some other incredible construct.
Undoubtedly. What's interesting about this, though, is that this is very, if we take a look at this and stay within its terms, then the vision in the symposium of beauty itself matches everything here. And the vision in the Parmenides, in the symposium, according to the Jowett translation, is that vision which is open only to the mind only. In that sense, it's rational in the same sense. And what one grasps here is the nature of reality. And there may be other models, of course. The only question we have is whether or not they are open to the same kind of verification through one's experience. And that's the game of comparative philosophy. Right? In other words, what we'd like to do is call upon the people in those different traditions that have different models and say, we would appreciate it if you would point out the people who are preeminent in your field, who have in some way in their own personal experience confirmed us. Then they have to march forward, and they then have to hear their statements and see how they match it, and then we have to see whether or not we can find any way to understand them comparatively, or whether or not they fit into a hierarchy. That's the way we would do it. Because at this point, this is for us, in hearing it, what you may regard, let us call it an opinion, right? It's an opinion, or it's a belief, but the author is crediting it for a right opinion, right? And in this game, then, to discover the condition for it being right, the condition for it being right is you then have to have a set of reasons. You must discover the reasons why it is called right. And when you have that, that's called understanding. And when you confirm that in your own personal experience, then that's called knowledge. So we would then ask whoever has alternate models, thank you for your model. Let us even assume it is right. Now would you please give us your reasonings and your reflections that therefore we can use to understand why you call it right? And would you tell us what class of experience you have had that you can